you pretty much can create a game for free without even knowing about 3D right now. And I was like, damn, that works. Everything that you can automate will be automated. They're hiring one guy instead of 10 to create half of the asset for the AAA game. The true value will remain, and that's irreplaceable. For many people, it can be a crisis, but every crisis is a time of opportunities. My name is Stefan, and I run similar YouTube channel, Stefan 3D AI. And that's basically two things that I'm proficient in. I've been doing this for 10 years. And the thing we're gonna talk about is 3D and how it actually transforms, right? So I'm gonna go one slide back. And I call it inevitable shift. How many of you use AI daily? Like how many of you, like every day? It's only few, right? You know, like in 1 year, maybe less, AI will be like every hour. Like it will be, we will be surrounded by AI. Have you heard about Nano Banana, right? We can go and check an image and create, edit it, right? With a prompt, like remove the background, add these people, right? Make me a nice image like I'm somewhere else. Is it surprising you now? Not really, right? I hope that here we have quite a lot of people from 3D industry, or you are related to 3D industry. I actually was talking a little bit and somewhere it's from advertised. It's cool, right? So there's a lot of applications. So 3D can be used in games, 3D printing. There's a lot of attributics here. 3D printing, it's prototyping, marketing, advertising, movies, CGI, like quite a lot of use cases. And what if I tell you that right now, AI actually also invading 3D, and we can drop an image and create a 3D model. I'm gonna show you a lot of use cases. We're gonna show you the tools that do that. We even had to create an arena, a leaderboard, to compare which actually does image to 3D better. So if that's not a surprise for you, the next thing is that it actually getting way better. And there's quite a shift. So that's why my presentation, my story is called Inevitable Shift, because that's gonna happen. And when you see what I'm gonna show you, you realize that's gonna happen soon. I would say 2 to 3 years, the way we think about 3D will be changed. It's not about one person doing like concept, another person doing retopology, sculpting, low poly, etc. And we need the team to create a nice character or 3D model or environment. So let's approach it step by step. Yeah, first of all, it's inevitable, it's taking over, and it, well, gives quite a lot of possibilities and options. But the truth is that human inertia is a huge thing. I like this image, like probably you saw this image, right? It basically says that like the adoption is extremely small. And that's so true. Like I'm running my channel and I was like, when I go and say like, there's a new tool, you can create 3D model from the image. And I was like, wow, it's now better and better. But some people just come, you can create 3D model? And that's the thing that's called like human inertia. That happens on across. So you today, I hope you're going to be enjoying these tools and take a look. Because what happened to me 1 year ago when I started this channel is I actually was somewhere here in this green dot. I knew about it. And then I'm 3D engineer. My background is 3D engineering. So I'm doing that for 10 years. Like I also run some companies. We're doing a lot of commercial projects. And then like I spent quite a lot of years learning 3D modeling, like 3D composition, right? You know, you have to put a lot of energy to learn that. 10 years into sculpting, like how to do that proportions, like imagine doing like characters, right? You need to know proportions. You need to understand a lot of things and be able to use these tools like sculpting and stuff. And then I see the demo, like someone creates a 3D model that looks exactly like the image. And like, so what am I gonna do with all my skills, right? I spent like 5 years learning that, and now it's like one image. So I was here, like somewhere here, fear. And that's what's gonna happen. And as a like YouTuber, I face it a lot. People do not want to accept it. They do not. They're gonna fight it. They're gonna find anything, any reason like to, you know, like avoid it, like why it's bad. And it's gonna happen. If in US, they try to say like, we're gonna not allow it because authorship, blah, blah, blah. In China, they don't care. If China says, like, okay, we're gonna not allow it, there's already a lot of open source. Do you know that some of this is actually open sourced? So you can run it on your 12 gigabyte VRAM GPU. It's open source even. No one uses it because no one knows it. That's fine. We're gonna add one more red dot today. So what actually changed, right? Here's actually the example. I have a nice video. Just last week we dropped the video. We show the evolution, how things about 3D. So this is the real images that we generated. So this one is 2015. At that time, no AI, no ChatGPT, and there was like a model called WoxNet. So people, like scientists, were like, how do we create 3D from, how do we explain 3D generation to a machine, right? So they were trying to do voxels. And there are quite a lot of problems. That was impossible to scale, and this is the best you can get in 12 hours. Like, this is 12 hours result. There was quite a lot of research, but we do see the LLM started to be smarter around 2022. That's where the GPT became, right? So the magic behind GPT is that we have a lot of computation, right? We scale it. We have graphic cards that can run a lot of millions, billions, trillions computations. So we put as much information and process it. So that's why the biggest AI from the company that also spend biggest electricity. So they have a lot of resources, a lot of computation resources. At this point, people start to realize, some researchers start to realize, what are we gonna do the same thing? And they started to collect a lot of data set, different 3D models. And first time in history, there was a triple SR, WAST AI with stability. Two companies made a demo that actually did a breakthrough. They put the logic of LLM, such as ChatGPT, they projected into 3D. The approach was pretty much simple, right? The same. They collected 10 million 3D models, labeled them, and here what you see, that was the first result. Not looking good, right? Not impressive. But compared to this, there's quite a bit. But what most importantly, what's happened, they realized how to scale it up. We just need more data, more training, more fine-tuning. And this is what you generate now. This is real 3D model. This is not an image. It's not a banana. It's a 3D model that I generated from one image. So what's going on is that it's actually, I don't know how to explain that. I also sort of like face some uncertainty in the future. But the growth is exponential. That's the problem. The thing's gonna change, and gonna change fast. But I have some hope for you today also about this, because 1 year ago when I started doing this, it was out of fear. I was like, okay, my job is actually, well, what can I do, right? I'm 3D modeler, like I'm 3D engineer. Who's gonna need me, right? Like, it's basically replaced. And I started to research, and I'm gonna share some insight that, like, again, like extremely, it blew my mind at some point. So yeah, it's a little bit about how it evolves. And this year alone, we got so much releases that is actually scary. Like, there was extreme advance in low poly models. I'm gonna show them today. And maybe you haven't noticed, and that happens somewhere, like in US. As part of my job, I also consult and I do advisor job for some studios. Because I basically like that pioneer, like who go and look like how we can apply this 3D to AI. And I've been reached by a lot of US studios. And I was talking to them, and here's what's happening. Some studios are, you know the progress, right? Like in Thailand, it's also visible on some level of companies. Some companies are stuck in some age, you know? Like, that happens because a lot of people hard to make a move, right? But teenagers, they're not restricted by that, you know, old habits, all customs, right? And they're like, oh, but you can do it this way now. So here's what's happening. Like, some studios, like some big studios, are starting to realize that. And we see like people are fired, or they like cut a lot of human resources and stuff. But the new companies, or like the studios who actually touched it once, they realize that the economy here gonna change. And what's changing is that we might argue that the AI created model is not really the model, right? That's like whatever, like it's like stolen. Maybe that's not ethical, etc. But you know who don't care? The market. Market doesn't care because if that's gonna cost me 10 times cheaper to create a game, I'm gonna create game 10 times cheaper. If I can create an ad 10 times cheaper budget, I don't need to hire like 3D visualization. I don't need to spend like, thousands of dollars to do that 3D environment. I'm gonna do that, right? Because what, in the end of the day, we earn money here. Yeah, we do have the arena. Nick will help me to actually explore this for you. So we actually collected a lot of tools and you can see which one actually work, which one doesn't work. So right now we do have like major players such as Tripo and Hunyon, like Vivo, Heitzem, and Rodian. There's pretty much like 5 monsters that do the best results. And we do have like 3 guys like Trellis from Microsoft that's the open source. So pretty much that model you can run on your, gaming notebook and create 3D models. It's open source. You can fine tune it. You can see the weights and stuff like that. In more detail, and our partners also will give some details. There will be a bit later. And the thing is, like you might think, like that's probably expensive, right? Creating 3D models. That sort of looks expensive, right? But it's not. Here's the list of tools that you can actually like use for free. Nano Banana in Google AI Studio was free. You want to try it? Go try it now. We're gonna test some things right now. Hunyon, Tencent, like huge big company. They give you 20 generation per day, then you can create plenty of accounts and you pretty much can create a game for free without even knowing about 3D right now. There is software like Accurig, like Modif, etc. I'm gonna go in some details. Not even opening Blender, you can create some actionable game in Unreal Engine. Did you notice that happen? Okay, so let's start. What I want to cover, like not gonna take a lot of time. We're gonna talk, I'm gonna show. Here I recorded some video from actual process. The first one, the concepting. We're gonna break down the game development. We're gonna quickly check 3D printing and some other application. But again, like if you're not from the industry, you can understand how it can relate to anything. Concepting, even the most hateful haters do not argue that image generation is a lifesaver. You can come up with any idea. You can split it into the parts like in minutes. The editing models are insane. If you never tried Nano Banana Pro or Qwen Image Edit or GPT Image, give it a try. Next up, we have 3D generation. And here, I think is actually solved. So all these 3D models was created from image, and you can evaluate the quality. I intentionally show some of them without texture. We're going to talk about texture a bit later. But high poly models advance extremely. So right now, again, you can start for free. Like this all, you can start for free. You're going to go like print it for example. You can start using it for the game. In classic game dev pipeline, how we do that, right? We do high poly model, we sculpt it, right? And then on top of the sculpted model, we do retopology and turn it into the game character. Now, this stage is absolutely solved. It's like no way someone will convince me that this is not enough 3D model. If that's not enough, just regenerate it in 1 minute. You don't need to go and sculpt it. Well, you can, but in terms of efficiency, it doesn't make sense. Look at these models, right? So the high poly models are extremely accurate. And this is like a month ago. The cycle of updates, if I'm not wrong, like 3 months. So they train the stuff. In 3 months, we're gonna see it even better. Who knows how better it can be. 4 months ago, every guy who came to my channel was saying, but the wireframe is so shitty. It's not usable. And I was like, well, that was true at that point. Just 2 months ago, Hunyon Polygen 1.5, this is what you see, introduced, okay guys, now we can do intelligent wireframe. This what you see is AI generated. This will. Months ago, we got Chipa P1, by my opinion, probably one of the best low poly model. We don't have much of them. We also have Rodian on Arena. You can actually compare them side by side. But the fact that, look at this. This is AI generated mesh. I think you got it, right? Like, I mean, I don't even know how to explain that, right? It's almost perfect. So before you have to do this retopology, well, that's actually the most difficult part for me. Like, it's just like you sit and 4 hours, you do that wireframe. Of course, it's not 100% perfect. And in our pipeline, we show that you can take it in the Blender, fix some areas in the ears where the animation will be, right? But then it actually is workable. What about next steps? Another thing that I was getting like a lot of hate is, but you cannot do UV. That's AI generated mesh. It's so bad that you cannot do UV. Well, I have bad news or good news. How to look onto it, right? Actually, we do have some researching happening in the UV as well. So here's what you see on Hunyon. They do have intelligent UV unwrap. It's random right now. So I could not say like this is like the best tool. It's cut a little bit, but yeah, you see this UV islands was created by AI. But to be honest, like you have to sort of roll it. Sometimes good, sometimes not. But this is probably the thing that's gonna come later. And there is also one very, very cool paper. So it's called Mesh Tailor. They announced it like around 2 weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago. And here you can see, they actually learn AI to understand the shapes and do accurate cuts. And the results are crazy. If we got this one, like, I don't know, no retopology, no UV needed, like high poly salt. And then we come to texturing. The texturing by itself is already advancing a lot. So by texture, before you can define like whether it's like human created, whether it's like AI generated, because it was blurry text, always the text, right? Like something like that you cannot read. That's still partially true, but it improves a lot. So here what you see is a tool called Modif. They're gonna show it later after presentation that takes a view of your model and generates with AI projection that you can apply with brush. You can see it do a projection and look how good it looks. We tested it on very different pipelines. I guess like the video will go on and you'll see. But texturing improves significantly. So we have color texture from 3D generator, from tools like this that completely change how you actually work with the model. So before you open Substance Painter, right, and you start painting, you have the reference. Now you drop the image and you like project it. Just project it. And it does understand the material properties. So like that, boom, fix it, AI. And this one, you don't need to learn like Substance Painter. This one you can learn in like 1 minute or like 5 minutes. Now let's talk about the gaps. There is no solution for the baking in the classic way, right? So what is the baking is when we have high poly, low poly, and we sort of transfer information such as normal map, ambient occlusion map, etc. And there is no solution right now. But it feels to me that there will be no solution in a classic way, right? It sort of changes. I think normal map and ambient occlusion will be just generated based on the geometry, based on the color map. And that tool, one of the tools that I mentioned, Modif, they already have generation of normal map. So basically, you have texture, the color texture, and on top of that, you create normal map. Again, the way we're thinking about 3D sort of changes. But at this stage, we don't have like something that really works. Same thing goes for rigging. If you work in rigging or like animation, you're probably in the safest zone. This is like very tedious thing. You need to be very accurate. And neither AI can do the proper rig, especially for the AAA requirements. So there are tools like Mixamo or Accurig, but that's like just the starting point. If you're creating something simple or like you're an indie game developer, definitely take a look, but that still require revision after and stuff. So rigging, yes, that's the safest point right now. But after you have your character rigged, there is animation. And I don't know why this is so uneven. We do have like extreme advance in animation. Just this year, if you like curious about animation, I highly recommend take a look on NVIDIA Kimodo and High Motion, but mainly Kimodo. And there's also a tool called Cascadeur, which is paid. Kimodo is open sourced. So what you see is basically NVIDIA Kimodo. You set poses You basically set poses, and here's the prompt. You basically say like the person walks or person jumps on one leg, and it does it like for humans only, but it does it almost flawless. Here's what you see is like a real demo. I did a test. It works on 4 GB VRAM. I mean, like any gaming laptop can run this thing. And I mean, it's open source, it's free. Crazy. The code scheduler actually shows like how this goes inside the pay tool, and they do like quite advancement. So pretty much what you say, like the animation is like you say, here the character is here and character is here like this. The rest will be done by AI. And you will not distinguish that it's like not a motion capture or something like that. It does amazing job. The guy walking here is absolutely AI completely. How cool is that, right? All right, so yeah, I'm saying like it's a bit uneven. Rigging is not solved, but then animation is easy. If you are in 3D printing, you absolutely have to use these tools. Like this is insane. Doing high poly models with AI is super easy. They're watertight. What else you need, right? You can control the shape. Basically, we show the flow that you can generate a model, drop it into the Blender, do some sculpting, and it's ready for printing. I don't know, like for 3D printing, I have to create workflows on my YouTube. But I was like, but what can I show, right? Because this is so easy. Like you just generate, do like few makeup in Blender or any software like ZBrush. Look, and it's ready for printing. It's watertight, meshes, highly detailed, very accurate to the image prompt. Just try it out. This understanding comes when you try it. Pretty much as I said, like these AI tools, they do have this direct export. You know these tools, if you're in the printing like Bamboo Slicer or like any other slicer, you can drop it right from the website there, ready for printing. The gap, there's no gap at all, right? The maximum that you can say like is like some imperfection, you can address it quickly. Well, not only 3D in like the object 3D is evolving. We do have technology called 3D like 3D Gaussian Splats. This also started to emerging around 2023. This is like basically the same family tree, but different deviation. The splats representation is different from the mesh. It's like a cloud of small splats, blobs, colored, right? Before, it was just a funny experiment, right? You can catch it as a scan, and then you can show, look, this location. Futuristic, right? It was completely useless for game dev and stuff. What if I say that there is a company called Marble World Labs? Did you know that they raised 1 billion this year from Autodesk, NVIDIA, and other bakers to make these words actually actionable? There's huge bets on this in the industry. I mean, I'm not lying, like you can Google this news. Look at this game. This game is made from scan. So all this is Gaussian splatting, transfer it with the collision to the game, and you can run it even on web. That's how optimized it is. So they pretty much like there's some guys that doing optimization of these splats, and they're competing like how many billions of splats you can run on the machine such as notebook. And this is insane. Here what you see is again like was generated in 5 minutes. This studio, this chair, is all generated in 5 minutes. And then you can actually use it. Well, that's main story. Let's talk about, should we actually worry about it? Well, I was worrying about it, so maybe if you're not interested, I will explain for myself, right? Should we worry about it? Yes and no, because we should worry if we do not understand where it goes. So let me try to give you my vision. You might agree, disagree, but I also learned it from like 1 year of research. The thing is that this technology can be compared with book printing, right? Or electricity or internet, right? When the internet came up, people were still using newspapers, like physical one, right? For how long? For quite long, actually, right? For maybe a decade, maybe like more. And still we have some premium newspapers that you can buy. But it's dead. We agree that's dead. There's the whole industry die because of the internet. There was like big factories printing these newspapers, right? There was a whole economy. There was, if you don't know, like there's like $1 billion industry around printing newspapers, where it is now. Well, someone migrated, someone become like biggest online, like Bloomberg, New York Times, etc. So what happened there is that the information, let's say in case of the newspaper, the information, the value didn't disappear. People still read news, just in different way. Here, I want to address the issue in relation of 3D and AI and like the CGI industry in general, right? What we see is that every routine, every labor, anything like that will be automated. And that's very easy to prove. Let's do an experiment, right? If I give one task to like 100 people to do UV unwrapping or like ray topology, I can expect 100 people will do pretty much the same thing, right? Because there are rules how to do nice ray topology. If you give nice inputs, like I need 15,000 polygons, you'll get 15,000 polygons. That's no magic science. It's just a routine work. But there is a bright side that I want you to think about and invest or starting to invest. That is very difficult to comprehend to people who invested decades into skills like ray topology. And I feel for them, but there's nothing I can do, right? I also like in the same position. So everything that you can automate will be automated. Now listen here, the bright side. The bright side is that if you're an artist, like a true artist, then you create. What means creation? Creation, it means like that you put some of your ideas, some of your heritage, some of like your legacy, I don't know, whatever you see in your childhood, right? Creators like comes from different backgrounds, and that's what makes their creations nice. So if I ask any of you, like if I give you like, give me a, I don't know, like a knight, like moonlight knight in the armor, I will get 100 different results, right? Can you agree on that? If I ask you to come up with a level design, you'll give me 100 different level designs and so forth. That's where the true value will remain, and that's irreplaceable. The thing with ChatGPT is that you can ask it to create anything, and it will create you in a second. It can create you like 10, 100, 1,000 variations. But if you start to like imagine, you say you decide which one the best, right? What you're gonna get? You're gonna get something that we call AI slope. This is basically, I think my definition of AI slope is that when you delegate thinking, when you delegate judgment and taste to AI, that's pure numbers, right? That's just an algorithm that runs, quite smart, can't deny, right? It's extremely smart, but in the end, like there is no taste. The taste there is based on the knowledge that we put inside it. So I think in next 5 years, this will be a protected zone, and this knowledge is the taste, how you can convert your ideas, like how you can define what's good, how you can put story, value in what you create, that will remain invaluable. In the end, I want to say like that for many people, it can be a crisis, but every crisis is a time of opportunities. And still, I would say we live in like incredible times. We can automate these boring parts and we can actually create. Like, just imagine, like I was like, when I was 20 years ago, I was like 6-year-old kid, right? I was like thinking, I want to create a game. That was impossible for one person to create a game. Like you have to spend a decade, right? There was some genius, but like, especially a 3D game. Guys, 1 month you can create a game. You can put any idea, you can create any environments, any characters, right? Maybe not like every character right at this very moment, but in 6 months, we're gonna talk about it, right? So keep creating.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to tell you more about Top3D AI, because this is the tool, this is the platform where you can find the best tool for your particular use case. Would it be game dev, movie production, CGI, or 3D printing? This is the place where you can find what AI is the best here and now, or tomorrow, or in a week, or in a month, because we know, everyone knows pace now is so brutal. Every week, new update. So top 10 players here and now in 3D AI field. And these are top 10. not even the whole full list. Then we know about image generation. We know about video generation. Every month, sometimes week, you have new release. You may started with Midjourney first, with image generation, right? Everyone knows Midjourney even 2 years ago. And then Nana Banana dropped. And then now, just a few weeks ago, GPT Image 2. And every time you have to try and spend some credits or free trials, create new accounts, and it takes a lot of time to test it out. Maybe you already have an established workflow for image generation. And then once new tool drops, you have to spend time to analyze if it's actually worth trying or implementing within your workflow. So this is one of the reasons why we created Top3D AI. Top3D AI is an independent multi-axis arena for AI 3D generators. Arena is not a new concept. If you're into LMs, you know LM Arena. When there is new release of, I don't know, Claude Opus 4.7, and their benchmark websites, and most popular one is LM Arena. You can test it out yourself, run blind test, and generate some text based on your prompt. And then based on these generations and your judgment of this generation is good or not, leaderboard is formed. Same concept here, but for 3D AI. There is currently more than 20 organizations, including TRIPO and open source and non-open source models, and more than 40 versions of those tools available on the website. Let me give you a quick walkthrough. The core of the website is the arena, obviously. As LM Arena, they allow you to generate it yourself. But in case with 3D, first of all, it takes a lot of time to generate. Not a lot of time, but in user perspective, a few minutes, it's already a lot, right? Some models takes like 10 minutes. Some models, it's almost instantly, like 30 seconds or 1 minute. And it also takes a lot of resources. So it's more expensive than generating text. That's why we pre-built the generations into the arena. So there is more than 55 3D models generated for the main arena, textured, and geometry arena. And I think around 20 per segmentation and low poly arena. So there are 4 categories of arena. Textured one, this is the segmentation. Recently added a couple of months ago. You can explore some of the models, some of the tools allow you to generate, bring parts of the models, segment them. So you can see the different colors. Here is the textured arena, where you can compare 2 3D models and choose which one is better quality. You don't know the name. You don't know the name of the tool that generated these two. So you just blindly compare and vote for the one which is the best. We already have more than 140,000 of votes collected within 6 months. And this is actually makes our arena top 1 within 3D AI sector. There is no comparison with others. So arena basically affects the leaderboard. Leaderboard, you can access every day, also same segmentation, low poly, textured, and geometry. You can see which tool is good for example, if you need it for printing, you access geometry leaderboard. If you need it for game development, you access low poly. So here, how it looks. TRIPO 3.1 now is good in segmentation. Maybe tomorrow it will be on take second place or third. So arena is always affects the leaderboard. That's why leaderboard is live. Once new tool or new version of the tool drops, we're trying to, like, as quickly as possible introduce generations made using same image we use for every tool available on the platform. And this way, users help us understand which tool is the best here and now. Next, in addition to leaderboards, we also have compare mode. If you already know what tools you want to compare, for example, Hunyuan and TRIPO 3.1 for a particular version of TRIPO. And you can come up with a list of prompts If you need characters, compare how they're good at characters or not, you can choose characters and see triple and meshy here on right and left side. So this is not blind. You are not giving your vote. You're just exploring. You just like, if you have a reason to compare, if you want to compare them right away. And there's also review section. Community gives their feedback. Authorized users, signed up users, they can give their feedback to this or that tool. Not just 1 to 5 star, but there are few accesses like textures, PBR materials, geometry, low poly. So you like there are 5 dimensions. They assess this or that tool, and all the reviews are public. So we're trying to keep it as transparent as possible. Users, you can sign in yourself and try to give a review to this or that tool. How do you trust the arena? You may say that someone pay us to be top 1. So we are 100% community driven. There is no mechanisms to manipulate leaderboard. We share it transparently, all the logic behind the ELO leaderboard. There is no Patreon at all. There is no promotions on the website at all. You cannot find any ads. This is purely community-driven platform. Then all the matchups, every model, even if you're deep into tech, you will not find the traces of the names of the tools present on Arena. So if you open, I don't know, dev tools of your browser, you will find only encrypted information. The tool name is revealed only after battle, not before, not during. You will not find a way how to understand which tool on left, which tool is on right. And also with tracking behavior. Of course, there were cases when we understood that someone is trying to promote particular tool just based on like they know how 3D model look like of their tool. They just know that how mesh looks like. And we track behavioral data, so how users interact with the tool. We already have automatic filters for that and mechanisms to keep it as fair as possible. Next, interestingly, some interesting insights about who actually use Top3D AI. We are running some surveys. Every third matchup, you will see quick question asking you about the purpose of using, we're trying to formulate the portrait of users, use cases, why they use it, how they use it, for what. And 35% of users actually professionals. They say themselves that they are professionals. But at the same time, we do have quite a lot of newcomers, either hobbyists who just trying to build 3D game in their spare time, or just curious users who are interested in what 3D AI field does here and now. Next, 36% of users are saying that they're from game dev or developing VR, AR experiences, virtual reality or augmented reality. And that was kind of a surprise. 50% of users said that they are generating characters. Surprisingly, as any website, we do have analytics. We can see who refer our website. There, we can track referrers, internal tools of huge game studios. You know, like these games like Final Fantasy, PUBG, Genshin, Honkai, Wuthering Waves, and many more. 5 insights I want to give you as my last part of the speech. You may know, like, who seen ads from Meshy? Do you know Meshy? Like many ads from Meshy. Even if you're not from 3D AI, there's like ads everywhere. I'm just opening my phone, Instagram Meshy right away. Line Meshy there, Reddit Meshy there, YouTube Meshy there. So, but the thing is, you will not see Meshy in top 5. They're spending a lot to their marketing, not to their product. They're everywhere, but nowhere in the top chart. They was presented in Textured and Arena in top 5 or top 4 at some point, but now, no. Now there are better tools on the market. Next, texture hides geometry. As I said, if you need 3D printing, you go to geometry leaderboard, because some of the tools, they can be really like top 1 in Textured, but in geometry, they goes down to like out of top 10. So try to find tool for your particular use case, not just top one in texture or top one in geometry or top one in low poly. Choose wisely for your use case. There are different styles of tools. For example, Hunyuan, which is open source, tends to round up meshes and stylize it quite a lot. At the same time, Tripo, for example, tries to follow like your image prompt exactly, like follows exactly, which sometimes also really good, sometimes can be not good, depending on your use case. Next, open source is closing in, but pay still wins. So there are tools, open source tools, Stefan mentioned it, like Trellis from Microsoft and Pixel 3D, and they're both MIT licensed, so you can use it for free. But top 5 still mostly like occupied by paid tools. Sometimes when we introduce new version of the tool, we even have had a case when newer version of the tool was less effective than previous one. So this is the signal for the developers. They released something of bad quality. They say that they updated quite a lot, that they updated UI, the platform itself, but not the generation became worse. Tracking versions is also good. You can explore different versions of different tools. If you have a chance to switch from this or that version, depending on your need, then yeah, you can explore which version is good at this website. And yep, thank you so much. This was my quick speech.